Okay, you want to say that again? No.
It's okay. I'll prevent a reason for not editing. Okay. Good morning. Good afternoon, brethren. It's good to see you again. Sparingly that I've been around, but as Deacon Al mentioned, sometimes you just have to take a sabbatical and do what you got to do. It's better that way, so that the cog in the wheel does not continue to rear its ugly head. Right? So, as I say, put up or shut up, right? So I'm putting up right now to shut up the situation. Brethren, but while I'm taking that sabbatical off, yes, I'm still working, but because I'm in a studying mode as well, you get the time to really think a lot. And I was supposed to give this sermon the last time, but because I was sick, I couldn't make it up. But give me some more time to think about the topic even more, and then perfect this a little bit better. So I'm going to get into this, and I want you to do this with me in your own way as I sit there. And the questions I'm going to ask, reflect on them, and see what the answers would be for you in each situation, right? Because I'm doing the same thing as well. It's a group thing. So, are you discouraged with yourselves? Are you discouraged with yourselves? Are you lacking some spiritual progress? Are you lacking the ability to overcome those struggles? Think about that. Now, what I think about that, let's take that question and go back a year ago, 2013, just before we came into 2011. How many times have you failed to reach a mark or the mark? Maybe if you think about it, you probably you can't count it, right? It's a simple exercise, but if you think about it, if you really think about it in your own way, you might think of it as pretty depressing thinking about your situations. Or, in some person's situations may be great. So if those are great situations, fine, cherish them, right? But it might be more discouraging for the most of us when you really reflect. Well, that was last year. Let's do a deep dive. What about last month? How have you progressed over last month? Whether it be physically or spiritual. Was there something you're working on that you realize I need to work a little harder, or I fell off a little bit? How about this past week? 7 days ago. Has everything gone the way you really wanted it to be? Is there something that you could have done that you didn't do? But regardless of how we're feeling, brethren, my hope is that somewhere along the line, we did something to please the Almighty. A lot of things might have propped up. You might have prayed every day. You might have slipped a day here and there. You might have missed Bible study. You might have missed a Bible study or a Bible reading, whatever. Just think about what the situation is. But regardless of what, be thankful for everything. Be thankful for everything that happened, whether it was good or whether it was bad. The scripture says, in all things, give thanks. So if all includes good and it includes bad, then all is all. Right? That was last week. What about today? I'm drilling down deeper. Year, month, week day. So far, as we get into today, have we pleased God so far? Have we messed up at something so far? Is there something that you started this morning or last night that you maybe failed at already? Or you've seen some glimmer of hope? Just think about it. Maybe, maybe not. Have I sinned? All these things are, I do this thing on the while, and somebody might say, why am I torturing myself? Well, yeah, I exist because of one word. Why? Why? I must question why I exist. I must question why I'm living. Why did I make it through last night? Why I did not make it through? I must question these things. If all I want to describe there, and if through all these situations you have all experienced positive things, then guess what? You are the exception. You are the exceptions. By the way, you are spoiling the curve. It's like when I was in college. You don't want to be in class with certain people, guys, I'm telling you. Okay, you know what the bell curve is, right? You don't want to be in a class with certain people. When you're in a class, expect, if it's a bell curve, the majority of person may fall under here in terms of certain grades. Right? Someone's going to fall half here, small minority. And over here you have a few minority. Right? But then you have those persons who fall outside of the graph. They're called outliers. They're just different. Whether they are getting a 0 off the curve, because nobody gets 0, not everybody gets zeros, or whether you're getting 100%. Few persons get that. So if you're one of those persons, you're not normal. You're not under the bell curve. Right? But brethren, why am I doing this? Today, I want us to examine the importance of taking it one day at a time. One day, you know the song? One day at a time, sweet Jesus. That song right there. When I get a chance to look at the words again. One day at a time, that's all we can do. The Almighty created different cycles of time. Year, when we start the year, as we think of the year, the first thing that might come to our mind is, at least for us, is the holy days. So we go in, we mark those off. And we say, okay, at least those days I'm going to be off this year. Even if you have no possibility of getting your vacation time off. But to say, okay, at least those days I'm going to take off, whether my boss like it is or no. All right? And you zero into the months and say, okay, with those marked off, what am I going to achieve this month? What am I going to do this month? And you do that daily. Right, to get to the point where, what is my weekly routine? What is my daily routine? And you look at it like that. Then the Sabbath comes, you get acclimatized to that. It's a routine thing. At least at a minimum, I should be at church the next Sabbath. That becomes your weekly routine. But brethren, why am I doing all of this? I'm putting forward the view that the Almighty appears to design our life in such a way that we must do it daily. We cannot be concerned about today. We cannot be concerned about today. And in order for me you notice every time I make a claim, I try to support it with something. And this is what I'm going to use to support the claim. There was an occasion, brethren, in Matthew 6 and 9, Matthew 6 and verse 9, where Yeshua taught the disciples how to pray. And he kind of give them an example or an outline, if you will, as to how they're supposed to do that. And if we go through this prayer, it appears that he lists some things in a certain order. I'm not saying you have to do it that way all the time, but it appears appears that there's something in order. Matthew 6 and verse 9. Verse 9, I'm reading from King James Version. So verse 9 says, after this manner, according to this way, according to this pattern, this standard, benchmark against this baseline, therefore pray you, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Verse 10, thy kingdom come, thy will be done as it is in heaven. Verse 11, give us this day. He didn't say tomorrow. Give me today. By the way, let me go back. That's not what he says. He says give it daily. So every day. Okay, so today, all right, today is done. Today again, today is done. Today again. So what it is called today? Give me that bread. He didn't say to give me a week's supply. He didn't say that. No, we get up. No, understand this in context. Understand this in context, okay? He didn't really say, today we get up and we go out there, we shop for the month. I mean, that's fine. That's fine. There's premise for saving today and reaping tomorrow. There's premise, even biblical premise, to investing in your future. I'm investing in my future right now, which is why I have to take a sabbatical off, okay, to ensure that stuff done, so that it doesn't come back to haunt me, right? And one thing I always tell people, one of the best things you can do, there are persons who are unemployed right now, and I feel for you guys, but one of the best things you can do, if you have the ability, is while you're unemployed, fill that void with something to make you better. So the moment you hit the ground running again, you're not found wanting. So if it means going back to school and get another career, reinvent yourself somewhat, so that when you get back out there, you can pull from all these different sources to make your life even better. So it's okay to invest in the future. There's nothing wrong. It appears, brethren, that is an additional principle that the Almighty wants to share with us through this. And it has to do with our spiritual growth. It has to do with our physical necessities. Like I said, the same scripture in Matthew 6 and verse 9 is also repeated in Luke 11:3. We say the exact same thing. In fact, Luke 13 says, Matthew 6:11 says, give us this day our daily bread. Mark says, restate it another way. He says in verse 3, Luke 11, verse 3, he says, give us day by day our daily bread. So he put daily in there, and also day by day. He explained it, what he means by daily. So in case you didn't get it, no, you get it. Day by day. And somewhere in that line is saying this: give me enough for today. Give me enough for today. Just enough for today. Like I said, brethren, we're supposed to plan for the future. But I think there is a spiritual lesson in doing things daily. A true believer, I don't think, really sit around and wait for things to happen. I don't think we should. And I think this is just my own perspective. Take me to task on it. That I observe a lot, and I talk to people a lot. I mean, locally, globally, internationally. Let me put that there as well. But sometimes I get the feeling that a lot of us also is waiting for auntie to cough. The title of the book, Waiting for Auntie to Cough. We're waiting for something to happen. But sometimes we have to make it happen, man. We have to make it happen. You can't just pray give us this day or daily bread and wait for the bread to fall. It's not going to happen. You want bread? There's a way to get bread. There's a way to do it. You have to do something. And I think a lot of us fall in that category where we just sit down and wait for something to happen. It can't happen that way. This is what we got to do. Show me your faith, and show me your faith, and I show you my works. You know. And why am I saying this, brethren? We should be actively preparing for the kingdom to come. It's something to come in the future. I don't know when that future is. It could be tomorrow. It could be. You know, but if you put it in perspective, maybe it's not tomorrow. But, it's God's prerogative. He can do whatever He wants. Which means, let me go to the extreme and say He can come the next minute. Oh, by the way, you start to count 60 seconds and realize 60 seconds comes and it doesn't happen. Then they say it was a false prophet. No, I said, could. Because it's possible. We can't just hang around and wait for something to happen. We should be actively involved in. So we live day by day then. And then when it's all over, brethren, that living is called this. L-I-F-E. Life. We live daily. And because we live daily, that's our life. that's our being. That's daily living is us. Life is made up of days. Get to scripture at some point. I'm not going to allude to it yet, but I'm going to get scripture at some point that talks about measuring your days, which life is measured in days. I'm putting a forward view again, saying that happiness is experienced today. It is not experienced tomorrow. Think about it. How can you be happy tomorrow? It's impossible. You can only be happy now. No. That's it. You can only be happy now. Or today, to experience a little bit more. It's impossible to do something tomorrow. Because when today passes, then there's a new today. You get my point? You can't do things for the future. The future does not happen. It's future. There always remains future. You don't say, yeah, I will do that. Yeah, will. Will doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Okay? Just like in the past, I did. You can't get it back. Gone. But right now, you do something. You be happy now. You live life to the fullest now. Here's why I'm saying that. I'm saying that because I've spoken to several persons here, and several persons have had several experiences. You have had individuals who have suffered stroke. We have had individuals who have suffered some near-death experiences. I suffered a few. I never talk about them, but when we get that time, I talk about them. I suffered a few near-death experiences. But every time you go through those things, you realize, it put me in a different perspective. It made me think, man, there's a way I have to live now in order for me not to get back to that point. In other words, I can do something that I can do for me not to get back to that point. At least that I know I have control over. There's some stuff you don't have control over. Heart attack. If you suffer a heart attack, that's getting right there on the doorstep of death. And they realize you didn't make it on the other side, they say. They realize, man, there's something I have to do in order to not get back to that point. That was close call. So every time we go through these things, every time we go through our daily livings, we should be a bit more appreciative for life, appreciative for the time that we get to spend, live, and hopefully thank God for the other one that might come. Psalms 118:24 tells us an approach that we should use to approach every day of our lives. Psalms 118, verse 24. This verse is morphed into a song as well, and we all know the song. 24 says, "This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it." Just like I was saying, be happy today. I can't be happy for tomorrow. Can't be. Impossible. And it is, David singled it out here as one day, brethren, because I think David, benchmarking against all of what he has done, we know his life story. If he's saying that, if David, knowing his rap sheet, all this stuff that he's been through, because we know other information to benchmark against, he is in a position to say, he's like saying, this is David, and David is saying, "Hey, Tony, guess what? Rejoice in this day, okay?" that's like saying that right there. Having been through his situation, near-death experiences, arrows, swords, running from guys, hiding in caves, his life is miserable. He's rejoicing. And we need to thank God for those. There are several scriptures, brethren, that focus on thanksgiving and contentment. If you go to Hebrews 13 and verse 5, the Apostle Paul's contentment there, Hebrews 13 and verse 5. And it shows that regardless of what, the Almighty will never leave us or forsake us. Hebrews 13 verse 5, it says, "Let your conversation be covetousness." He's telling you a way to live. And then he goes on to say, "And in addition to that, be content with such things as you have." The things that you have right now, the things that's in your possession right now, that's in your control right now, be content with it, man. By the way, why is he saying that? Before that he says, "Let your conversation be without covetousness." So don't covet the neighbor for you know, don't keep up with the Joneses, babe. Don't keep up with the Joneses. The Joneses know how they get theirs. You know how you get yours. So don't benchmark against the Joneses about, "Man, I wish I had what they." Be content with what you have. For he had said, "I will never leave thee nor forsake you." Go to 1 Timothy 6 verse 6. 1 Timothy 6 and verse 6. We need to learn to appreciate what we have today, brethren, instead of lusting for what we don't have. You know, hoping that we may have some time in the future to enjoy something about that too, because my mother used to, I'm gonna get there. My mom used to come down on me hard for this stuff, and we had a lot of talk back and forth, respectfully. 1 Timothy 6 verse 6. "But holiness or godliness, take your pick, both with holiness, with contentment is great gain." There's a lot to get out of being contented. Verse 7, "For we brought nothing into this world." Remember how you were born if you can go back. Remember, what did you take with you? "And it is certain we carry nothing out." We come here with our bare hands, birthday suits and all. Now we might go back that way too. Verse 8, "And having food and raiment, therefore, be content with it." So you got food, you got clothes. You're set. You're set. You're not exposed to the elements, at least that way. And you're eating. you are okay. Philippians chapter 4. Here's what Paul says. Philippians chapter 4:11. Piggybacking after 1 Timothy 6 and verse 6. But go to Philippians 4, chapter 11. Verse 11. Not that I speak in respect of want. If you read further down, follow his context. Not that I'm speaking with respect of want, for I have learned. Paul is giving his experience now, and he's telling these people. I said, because of how I live, and I've been through that, here's what I'm saying to you. I have learned in whatsoever state that I am, therewith to be content. Self in. That's where I'm at, so I just might as well just hang out right here and enjoy it while it lasts. And then verse 12. I know both how to obey. He's telling you the extremes of the spectrum. How to rise, how to fall. And I know how to abound everywhere and in all things. I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry. Sometimes he's hungry, sometimes he's got a belly full. Sometimes to abound. Sometimes he experienced both, and this is a stalwart now I'm getting it from. So I hear from David's standpoint, patriarchs, and I'm hearing now from Apostle Paul. The experts, they've been through this. Paul knew that if you had a full stomach, you can also have an empty stomach. But regardless of what, he said they must learn to live through them. And what better yet? In verse 13 he says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So hopefully, brethren, we can appreciate the things that we have today. So think about what you have today. Be appreciative of it. The Almighty looks after us daily. Psalm 68 verse 19 reads like this. Psalm 68 and verse 19 says, Blessed be the Lord who daily loadeth us with benefits. Every day he gives us something. If we should list out all the things that we have, brethren, because we take a lot of things for granted. You know, there's something we do when you're doing a SWOT analysis, where you say to the person, sit down and assess your net worth. Right? I said, over here, list all the things that you have. Right? And then list all the things that you owe, you don't have. And be truthful, be very, very honest. Don't lie to yourself, and don't lie to me, because it doesn't help me. Right? To just be open. List everything that you know over here, they call assets, and everything over here that is a liability against you. And look at it, and then when it will make a difference, that's your net worth. Are you plus in a positive situation and a negative situation? Do that. But we can do the same thing. There's a song that says, count your blessings. Count your blessings, name them one. We can name them. When you really do that, write them down. Write them down. And then the song goes on to say, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done. You'll be shocked. You say, I forget that. How did I? Know of business picture makes all the difference. It makes all the difference. See, it makes all the difference. That's why maybe I'm in the accounting profession. Because I'll give you what the true story is. Whether you like it or not, I don't care. This is your situation. This is the situation. And this leads me to the point where I'm saying, okay, so if you look at all that, and you look at all the things that you have, and this is where my mother and I used to get in trouble, is, here's what, my mother, a very, very faithful lady. She passed in '05. But I remember, my mom will, we were from a family, but anytime something is bought, I remember when I went, I didn't wear, we didn't walk around with shoes on our feet every day. Let me put it that way, okay? When we did have a pair of shoes, or none of that stuff, I'm just using a shoe as an example. You wear it, dust it off, put it back in the box, stow it away. Special occasion only. Okay? Sunday come, you put on the Sunday best, it's done, take it off, stow it away. For the rest of the days, just go with the things that, okay? But then, there was this point when I was young, I forget what age it was, but I said to her, Ma, why is every time we have to do that? Why do we have to put this stuff away? The question is, what if I die tomorrow? Who gets it? No, I'm not saying not to give it. But I'm just saying, what's the point of saving up the stuff? You know, all those, what do you call those things? I don't know what they call them, but China and all those things, eating out of plastic cups and stuff. Give us the China, let us eat from the China. Give me the crystal, let me drink from the crystal. Right? I don't know if an earthquake is going to come and break the things apart right now, and then all the stuff that they've been saving all these years. No, let us end. No, let us be happy today. Right? Let us be happy today. I don't buy a car and say, I'm going to drive it up this street. You don't do that. You don't get a classic car and say, because I don't want to put too much miles on it. No, you put miles on it because when you put miles on it, that's where the experience comes in. You say, hey, whoa, I have a 1965 Shelby. You know how much miles is on that, dude? That's the bragging right. Not how much miles you didn't put on it. You're saying that car has gone through experience. It has seen time. It has been tested. And guess what? The future is here. And guess what? That Shelby is still holding up, baby. You know what I'm saying? So I want to have my cake and eat it. I'm not saving it for tomorrow. I'm living what it is called today. Another question. What if, on the backdrop that we set earlier on, what if then your entire eternity was based on what we are like today? What if your entire future, what we are planning for, is based on how we are today? Because remember now, today, we are living today. We're living in this moment. We're living in this moment. So if you are happy today, that picture, and we can transfer that and look, then fine. Right? The reverse is opposite. If you are miserable today, you want the eternity to be that miserable? I don't know what your situation is. You don't know what my situation is. At least you may know of it, but you cannot fathom it. Right? So every time you talk to someone, oh, I understand. No, you don't. You're listening to me. You hear me. You can fully comprehend. You can empathize somewhat, in a sense. But empathy, sometimes these days, empathy is like, no, sometimes that doesn't even help me either. I tell you this much. When my mom passed, and I was very close to my mom, I loved her. I was at college, died in Jamaica, preparing for an exam, get the news. My whole world could have gone apart. And everybody coming up to you, oh, Cornell, condolences. After one point I said, stop. Because these continuous condolences, and no, it's not helping me. No, people might say I'm insensitive and all. No, it's not, you don't get it. You keep coming up to me and telling me, condolences, and you're not helping me. Change the narrative. Right? I just asked my mother, change the narrative. I got a future for. So I remember when I went back home, and all of us had to say your stuff. And I'm a baby, so all other 6 went before and they did stuff, and everybody talk about the stories and how my mom was this and and I, okay, fine. And I thought about it, and I went up there and said, you know what? Y'all start stories and everything. Right? Guess what? I have to live today. I have to live tomorrow. Well, in this case, today. So guess what? She was a nice person and everything, but guess what? She made me who I am, and I'm going to be. I'm not going to, I don't want to hear, that's the thing, if everybody come to, and they want, what happened? How was this person? How was that person? And no, don't come for the reason. If that's the reason we go to a funeral, forget it. Go and support, in the positive sense. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I look at it. I was very, very frank with it, and people might, like I said, people might think I'm insensitive and rare, but I have a brain to think for a reason, man. That's not helping me. The condolences that help. Philippians 1:6 reads like this. One and verse 6, it says, be in confidence of this very thing, that he which begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Yeshua. He's saying that basically we are put in this situation. We are put in this situation, brethren, and we are being judged daily. We are being judged daily. That's being judged daily. We're not waiting until that future point. We are being assessed. Think of it this way again. College. I can talk about it because I spent a lot of time there. Let's say you had a grade point average. You're getting ready to graduate and realize you experienced some stuff. You fail that exam that was critical for you to graduate. Guess what? GPA take a hit. There's a certain standard you have to be to graduate. So you say, okay, well, you can do it over. Fine, you can do it over in the real sense, but school got it. You might do it over so many times, but then again, you might realize you don't make it out of report. So you have to stay in here until you get it started. Same thing with us, in a sense. We get these days to live, and we may find we are in pressure over GPAs. We have to get back to the drawing board every day and deal with it. And while we're doing that, we're being judged. We are being judged by the Almighty. Like I said, what if our eternity was based on today? Would you live it any differently? If you knew that it was the last day on earth, how would you do it? Here's how Moses put it. Psalm 90. Chapter 90. I'm going to go 10 through 15. Psalms 90, 10 through 15. He said, the days of our years are 60 years and 10. And if by reason of strength, they may be 80 years. Yet it is their strength, labor, and sorrow, for it is soon cut off, and we fly away. Who knoweth the power of thine anger, even according to thy fear? So is thy wrath. And in verse 12 he says, so teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. Return, O Lord, how long? And let it repent thee concerning thy servants. O satisfy us early with thy mercy, that we may rejoice and be glad in all our days. That's all I've been saying all this time. Verse 15, make us glad according to the days wherein thou hast afflicted us, and the years wherein we see evil. Now, I'm going to take us on a journey again, just to show you how important a day is. We all know a score is 20 years, right? So 70 is 70 years. So Psalms is basically saying, maybe as a standard, you live to see 70 years. But if you're a little stronger, you might see another 10, 80. So okay, top off the baseline then to be 80 years of your life. So that becomes the standard to measure against. So you want to live? Let me see if I can get to 80. Right? Deep dive again. If it is 80, if it is 4 scores that God has given us, at least from a standard, that's 29,205 days. 29,205 days. Does that sound like a lot? All right? You have, if Psalms 90 right here, and verse 10 and 12 is anything to benchmark against, then an idea comes to me. He said to me, maybe, according to David, I should really start numbering my days to get to the 80. Right? That the benchmark against. So, here's mine. You can do yours to get your time. Okay? Here's mine. As of today, I'm 36 years, 4 months, and 6 days old. As of today. 36 years, 4 months, 6 days. You want to hear that in days? In my lifetime so far, I've lived 13,266 days. So if the 70 was the lower limit, the first lower limit, then in a sense I've lived a little bit half my age already by a year. Half of that, 35, so 36. I'm a little bit, so I'm like about 50 point something % of my life. If I were to live to see age 70, which is approximately 33 years, 8 months, and 3 days from today, brethren, it means that I have 12,301 days left to live. To get 70. But that was the first baseline. But some say, if by strength we get to 4 scores. So, okay, all right, so let me shoot for 80 then. So I benchmark against 80. I say, how many more days I have to live to get to 80? Right? 15,954 days I have left to get to 80 years old, which is 43 years from now. 8 months and 2 days. Now, we don't really sit and think about these things. We don't. But when I put it in numbers now, it makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense why David says, Psalms 39:4. Let's go there. Psalms 39:4. It's a sobering thought. Psalms 39 and verse 4. Lord, make me to know mine end. David wants to know when he's going to get off this earth. He wants to know when he's done. He said, hey, take me to the end. I want to see. I want to peep over. Just like how Moses, he didn't get to go to the promised land, but he was able to view at least, right? David said, I want to see my end, and he says, and the measure of my days, that what it is. Why? Because they want to know how frail he is. He's using it for a reason. You want to benchmark against something. You want to see here, you might be frailty. You maybe want to make a reassessment. How do I approach the next few years that I have? Behold, thou hast made my days as an handbreadth, and my age as nothing. He's basically saying, when you look at it, it's nothing, man. Verily, every man at his best state is altogether vanity. He's saying, I have nothing. I want to know, but if you look at it, I have nothing. So the Almighty tend to measure my days. So I just measure mine. I don't. So I got, 15,000 days to do something. Right. to impact somebody's life. You are admonished by Paul in Ephesians 5 rather, that we need to redeem that time. And this is, you can see why David is saying, let me see the end. I want to see the end. Ephesians 5 talk about, verse 15 talks about redeeming the time. Do all you can to buy back and redeem those times, because the days are evil. Ephesians 5 verse 15 says, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. You become in age for a reason. By now you should be having certain level of maturity, certain, so you look at things differently. So it becomes information, becomes knowledge. Use of knowledge is wisdom. All these, you look at these things and realize you got to strengthen that wisdom. When you get older, your time becomes more valuable. When you get older, your time becomes more valuable, more precious. What about Colossians? Colossians 4. He says, Colossians 4 and verse 5 says, walk in wisdom toward them that are without, redeeming the time. Use the time wisely. Yeshua has something to say about that as well. Actually, Matthew 6 and verse 34. Matthew 6 and verse 34 says, take therefore no thought of tomorrow, for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. So here's the part that I like about this verse, and I don't think many people think about it. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. What does that mean? Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. Simply put, this scripture right here is saying, don't fret over tomorrow, because tomorrow brings its own anxieties. One day's trouble is enough for one day. This day, today has its own evil to think about. Deal with that evil. The next today, which is tomorrow, which becomes a today, has its own evil to deal with. Deal with that. So I said, one day at a time. Proverbs 27 and verse 1 says, Proverbs 27 verse 1 says, boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day bring forth. Tomorrow I'm going to do this. Oh man, tomorrow I'm going to do that. Really? You see, while you're planning, God is erasing. You ever see those cartoons? Writing, and then over here you see the words undoing. Yeah. So, no, I'm not saying not to plan, because like I said, I'm planning right now. I'm taking my professional exam because those are important, in my working environment. You might want to save to buy a house tomorrow. Those things are important. The lending markets are not like what they used to be. You know what I'm saying? So it's fine. In Jamaica we had a acronym, START, save today and reap tomorrow. Those things are important. But while you're doing that, don't really get lost into it. Don't get lost into tomorrow, really. Because just like how earthquakes happen, it can all go up in smoke. Rome was built in how many years? And it crumbles in 10 seconds. Right? James chapter 4 and verse 13 says this. James 4 chapter 13 says, go to know, you say that today or tomorrow, we will go into such city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain, whereas you know not what shall be tomorrow. You're making all these plans. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanish away. 15, for that you ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or do that. So basically, because we know these things, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But let's just preface that and say, you know what? If God allow me, I'm going to do that. Right? Go to Ecclesiastes 7, verse 1. Interesting statement. Look at this one right here. And it kind of give me an idea of how the Almighty think about death. All right, let's go to Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 1. 7. Name, or in other words, character or reputation. A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of one's birth. The day of death is better than the day of when you're born. He's like saying, bring on that death. Bring on death. Bring it on. Who get up and say that? The day of death is better than the day you're born. Why would the Almighty would say that? Or why would this writer say that? The only plausible answer to me is that it appears that the Almighty is more concerned about where we end up than how we started. You get what I'm saying? It's not about so much death here. It's about the compass and not the compass and not the clock. In other words, with the clock, how much time do I have to do this? But then the compass says, what direction did I take? Where did I end up? The compass and not the clock. I think that's what this is talking about. I mean, it's up for debate, but I'm not debating it. I'm just, you know. And then Psalms 116, verse 15, makes it a little bit clearer, and the reason why I'm saying that, maybe that's what it is. Psalms 116, verse 15 says this. Psalms 116, verse 15 says, precious in the sight of the Lord is what? Is the death of his saints. Which makes it more plausible to me that he's probably more concerned about where we end up than how we started. The Almighty looks on death differently than we do. When I was in school, when I get a chance, in your own time, look for the Apologia. The Apologia was Plato's defense on. And so, in fact, apology, we get the word apologize, but instead of, if we really look at it, it's really a defense, right? And there was a situation because back in the time, he was charged for some stuff, so he got to go into the emporium and he's the stadium of people, and he has to stand up. It's like one man against the entire world, right? And so these judges and stuff, and he has to convince all these big guys now why he shouldn't be put to death. And this was his last stance, basically. Which is why he wrote the Apologia. His last stance now to say, you know what, I got one shot, like Eminem says in the song. He got one shot to go at it. But if he's going to go out, he's going to go out on top. And there's a point in the defense where he says, you know what, and just this is to restate it. I don't know what they say about death, but if based on what I understand, if what they say about death is that, okay, when you die, you go to heaven, and or you die and go to hell, something like that. So he said, well, guess what? If I die and go to hell, then hey, at least I'm out of this miserable life. I don't have to face you guys anymore. Okay, so one down. So I'm taking the other extreme. Okay, if the other extreme, based on what you guys say, we go to heaven, then I go to heaven and I get to continue what I'm doing now there. So he said, either way, it's a win-win situation. No, it sounds funny, but for a guy who is putting up his last defense before death. But it makes sense to me. Maybe that's how the Almighty looked at death here. But digress a little bit. Psalm 61 verse 18, David said that we should strive to serve God on a daily basis. I'm not going to go there. Psalm 61 verse 8. Psalms 55 and verse 17, he also says he will call upon you daily. In fact, in that scripture, he says, evening, morning, and noon, he will pray. You can write that one down. In 2 Corinthians 4 and verse 16, Apostle Paul was in contact daily. He renewed himself daily. 2 Corinthians 4 and verse 16. He was in a constant battle with the flesh daily, which is why I get to the point where he says, I've fought a good fight, I've finished my course, hands up is laid up for me. He got through all that. The Almighty Yeshua was also faced with the same battle. In Luke 9:23, where he says, you have to take up a cross daily if you're going to follow me. Brethren, in other words, our motto shouldn't be, what can I do for tomorrow, but not so much what, can I succeed, but what can I get out of today? What can I get out of today? That's not what we're going to succeed tomorrow. Proverbs says, fret not thyself of tomorrow, you don't know what to bring forth. But pray for God to strengthen us daily, like David asked. You and I are in this building right now. We're building this temple, figuratively, the church. We're bringing it stone by stone, brick by brick. I'm putting a stone, you're putting a stone in the way you're doing it. But every time we're doing that, we're doing it today. So we're doing this in a series of today. Today, we're doing this. Today, I'm laying in this foundation. Today, I'm building, today, just today. Life is a series of todays. Life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. And that echoes with me because there's something else. I've been observing a lot of stuff over the years as well, and there's something I really want to talk about at some point, but every time I think about it, I'm like, I don't know if I should do it. Because as much as I struggle with it, and I say, I should talk about it at some point, I know the risk I face. Seriously, I know the risk I face. I'm a young guy, but I know the risk I face. But if that's risk, I'm still thinking about it at some point. I should talk about it. I know. I'm going to count the cost like But that right there, that statement right there, life is not measured by number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. And I look at, and I begin to look at the church as we know it, the church as we know it, the church of God as we know it. And I'm saying, you know what? We are strong on one thing, not strong. We are proponents of one thing. True doctrine, from doctrine from now till tomorrow, and doctrine till Moses come back from the dead. True, all truth, getting it right. But there's something that I think we struggle on as a church. The little things that I call the Christianity 101 principles. When is the last time we went and visit the sick? When is the last time? Have anyone really? Okay, let's go down to that jail down so and talk to some of these guys over there. You know what I mean? No, this is not to bring people to Christianity or whatever your anity is. You know what I'm saying? They just want to hear a different perspective from a different person. I mean, different from the guy who you sit on the train and talk to. You hear of missionaries who travel all over the world every year, risking several different diseases and places in life and death, and they're doing things. Now we say, well, they're not calling the church and really. Okay, I understand that. But they touch mankind. They feed people. When is the last time we feed anybody? When is the last time we have the prayer list right here. The other person under is sick. I mean, you should probably get up one day and say, let's go visit the people. They sit down and talk to them, and not the phone call, technology, love it. But there's something called a personal touch. People appreciate. A fighting will that says, you know what? I have a little bit of hope after all. You might realize that how the psychology changed a lot of stuff. I'm just saying, you know. Anyway, let me close up. Let me conclude with Galatians 6, verse 7. Paul speaks of sowing here in Galatians 6, verse 7. He says, Galatians 6, verse 7, be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to the flesh shall be of flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall reap the life everlasting. And then in verse 9 it says, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. So whatever we sow is what we reap. So if we don't sow, we're reaping. You see the other side to that, you know? You want to know how to define something? Define the opposite of it. It's the best way to define something. If I say to you, what is life? Define what it is not first. And then realize what life is. You get my point? Define the things that doesn't fall into the criteria of the definition. Those things are not included in there. And when you do that, then you're shortlist a lot of stuff. And then you come up with a definition. That's life. That's reaping, whether we reap or not. Sow a thought, you'll reap a thought. Sow an attitude, you reap an habit. Sow a habit, you reap character. So how about this, if you look at it another way? Sow a day, you reap a week. So a week, you reap a month. So a month, you reap a year. So a year, you reap a lifetime. So a lifetime, you reap eternity. Taking it the other way. Previously, I break it down, and we're building it back up to eternity. Brethren, let us take each day count for something. Learn to live one day at a time. Better yet, 1 hour at a time. 1 minute at a time. 1 second at a time. Can't go even further. Moment by moment, like the song says. And because I can't count moments, but I can count seconds, but I'm not going to do it. It's going to be a bit more technical for me. But I can count minutes. Just a little bit. But in terms of today, I'm going to count hours. How about that? It means, therefore, if I'm going to live hour by hour, in order to get to my 80, I have 382,879 hours to go. Now I have to configure a plan. What do I do? What do I do? I have to make every single moment work, Brethren. And that's it. 1 day at a time. Thanks.